latest data shows that this figure is now over 300,000.
Less than impressed. The Labour shadow health and social care West Street.
There's no plan to tackle the workforce crisis, no plan to deal with delayed discharges, and no hope of eliminating waits of more than a year before the general election in 2024. The only big new idea seems to be a website that tells people they're waiting a long time, as if they didn't already know. This isn't a COVID backlog, it's a Tory backlog. After a decade of Tory mismanagement, the NHS had record waiting lists of 4.5 million before the pandemic.
And that's another aspect. Not just I would imagine your anger that the money will not help in any way. Why is it that we've got a figure here, 93,000 vacancies exist in the health service? There was a time, as I recall when I was a young man, and indeed at that point I was living with a nurse, there was a time when people wanted to go to the NHS. A lot of people they would go to nurses, they would go to nursing, they would go to other medical. Where is the attraction gone? Is it down to the money? Because I recall all those years ago, she wasn't paid a lot of money then. So what lies there? So there's two aspects. And by the way, if you work in the NHS and you want to give a great advert and call me and say, look, it is hard work, but the camaraderie, the feeling when you make someone better, when you're helping someone in pain, when you're relieving anxiety is the greatest thing. Or
in 300 yards, keep right to continue towards Tons Lane, A355.
Take your calls in just a moment, but we'll get the union view in just a moment from the head of health at Unison. But first, just an overview of where we find ourselves. Paul Nuki is Global Health Security Editor at the Daily Telegraph. It's not particularly vaunting ambition, but is it the reality?
Keep right.
It has to be done with a large number of people who need treatment, and sadly, not enough staff in post. Paul, good morning.
Morning. Yes, I'm afraid it is. It's a huge political problem and a huge human problem. The waiting list already at 6 million, certainly going to grow, perhaps to double before the next election. And behind those numbers, of course, some real tragic stories. People waiting very long periods.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto the M4 slip road to London, Heathrow Airport.
Are you surprised by the lack of effort to try and get these lists down faster?
Well, I think the Treasury did its utmost. It delayed this plan by a day, allegedly pushing for stronger targets. It would say it was just kicking the tires. But I think ultimately it's not a problem that can be fixed at political command. Staffing and money going into the NHS has been tight for a decade. There are not many people in the Conservative Party, I think, who would thank George Osborne if they met him on the street today for the last 10 years. And that austerity, it was needed at the time, perhaps.
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
And it's made matters a whole lot worse. So they find themselves in a real hole, and it's going to take a good long time to dig themselves out.
Lastly, Paul, why the recruitment crisis?
Well, the NHS has got its agents all around the world trying to recruit nurses from the Philippines, from Paul, from India. They're even lowering standards to try and get people across. But that's not a problem that's unique to us. Countries across the world, the developed world, are short of...
Continue on M4 for 5 miles.
There's not been training enough, while at the same time, our population are getting older and older and in need of more healthcare. So that's not just a British problem, it's a global problem.
Paul Nuki, thank you. Your Global Health Security Editor at the Daily Telegraph, 11 minutes after 7. Listeners, that is Sarah Gordon, who's Head of Health at the Unison, and joins me now. Why the shortage of staff? Why the recruitment crisis, would you say? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, yeah, I remember that time, like you do, where we actually struggled to find jobs for all of the new graduates and new entrants into health. That seems like a very long time ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, all of the work that Unison and other unions do is telling us that there's a real problem, not only in the lack of ambition for recruiting new people in, but the big gap that we can see is that there is nothing being done to stop the existing staff from leaving. And the targets that were produced yesterday, if they were matched with a proper investment in staff, then that could be a realistic plan. It could be a step forward. But there is currently a gaping hole where that investment plan for staff should be.
What has the impact been of moving nursing into a university, one where the young man or woman has to have a university degree? And also,
There's a lane closure ahead.
So there used to be residential as well. You moved into a home as you learnt on the job.
Well, I mean, the cost of housing is one of those issues that looms very large for lots of healthcare workers, particularly in metropolitan areas where people are increasingly living further away from the places where they work. But the real issues that we can see that need to be tackled is, you mentioned pay. Of course, that's going to be at the heart of any retention plan that we think the government should put in. But anybody who's stepped across the threshold of a health centre or a hospital or phoned an ambulance over the last 3 or 4 months will know that workload and pressure is just building and building. And we've been warning of this for several years now. As your previous commentator said, this isn't just a pandemic-related issue. We went into the pandemic with staff who were tired, with the impact of austerity on health staffing, and that's not good for those staff, and it's not good for the patients that they look after. We all want and need staff who are well motivated, feel valued, and are encouraged to come to work every day. And instead, what we've got is people who are going home exhausted, feeling drained, and looking for other work. And in a piece of work we did just before Christmas, we found that 3 out of 10 current health workers are actively looking for work elsewhere. And in the job climate we've got, where employers are competing for skilled workers, that's really dangerous.
We'll put that to government minister as well as later today. Thank you, Sarah Gordon, your head of health for the union Unison. We'll come to you, of course. Terence should be the first call. Let's do it the other side of the news. Just spell it out again. That rise in national insurance, hugely controversial, possibly quite damaging to the Conservative Party. It is going to bring the whole heating into everybody's home, or many people's homes, I should say, come April. And initially it was sold because we needed a social care programme, and then it was sold as tackling hospital waiting lists. But the reality, as it was unveiled yesterday, it is none of the above. It will be 2 years. And just imagine if you've got a bad hip or a bad knee, or whatever it might be, a hernia, right, and you're living with that pain, and you have to wait, and potentially.
In 2 miles, at junction 4B, exit towards M3, M23.
There are other stories. Coming up shortly, one of the most affable TV hosts of all time. I speak of University Challenges, Bamber Gascoigne.
As usual, everyone here's O'Hara and Forrest out of question for 10 points, and then Royal Ban is always 15 to be discussed within the team. So let's go straight to the game. Here's our first starter for 10.
And an appreciation of his career after this. It's 7:15 LBC News headlines, Simon Conway.
There's a promise to recruit 15,000 new health workers by the end of March to help increase capacity in the NHS in England. A report by MPs says businesses have faced higher costs, more paperwork and border delays since Brexit. And West Ham's Kurt Zuma was booed by fans last night over a video which showed him kicking his cat. LBC weather, cloudy in the south with light rain, colder but brighter for most further north, a high of 12 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb on the M25, very busy clockwise to the QE2 bridge and then over the bridge towards junction 1A at the A206. A car's broken down just after the bridge, so one lane is closed for recovery. A car's also broken down on the M4 eastbound just after junction 6 at Slough. One lane's closed for recovery, and that's also busy on the approach. Very busy in Surbiton on the A240. The Surbiton Hill roads had to be closed northbound, and that's for emergency works. In Feltham, those traffic lights still not working on the A312 at Dukes Green Avenue after they were damaged in an accident yesterday. And on the underground on the Northern Line, Tufnell Park and Chalk Farm stations are both closed because of a shortage of staff.
This is LBC. How you feel tomorrow starts with a safe, spacious gym at Nuffield Hill. With swimming pools, expert personal trainers, group exercise classes and physios at your local centre. How you feel
quarter of a mile, at junction 4B, exit towards M3, M23.
Take one worry off your mind. We're the rent guarantee specialists, guaranteeing your rent from 1 to 5 years with no monthly commission and no management fees. A fully managed service that's completely free of charge. Visit findfair.com to find out more. Any property?
Exit at junction 4B, then keep right at the fork.
Findfair, the rent guarantee specialists. Subject to acceptance, T's and C's apply. This St. Valentine's Day, celebrate all the saints in your life with romantic bouquets and thoughtful gifts from Zing Flowers. And with every bouquet ordered, we'll plant a tree on your behalf. It's the small things that help.
Keep right at the fork.
Zingflowers.com. Amazing every Valentine's.
Do you worry about your loose and missing teeth? How they look?
Continue on M25 south for 1.5 miles.
TDC Smile in a Day dental implants can give you a full set of fixed teeth and a natural-looking smile in just one day. We exchange your fixed teeth for a full permanent set after 3 months. Book your
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 14, use the left 2 lanes to take the A3113 exit to Heathrow Airport. Use the left 2 lanes to exit at junction 14, then keep right. Keep right. In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto Airport Way, A3113. In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Southern Perimeter Road. Exit the roundabout onto Southern Perimeter Road. In 300 yards, the Western Perimeter Road roundabout, take the second exit and stay on Southern Perimeter Road. Exit the roundabout onto Southern Perimeter Road. Continue on Southern Perimeter Road for 1.5 miles. In 1/4 mile, at the roundabout, take the third exit onto Beacon Road. Exit the roundabout onto Beacon Road. In 100 yards, at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Stanwell Road. Exit the roundabout onto Stanwell Road. In 1/2 mile, turn right onto Great Southwest Road, A30. Turn right onto Great Southwest Road, A30. In a quarter of a mile, at Clockhouse Roundabout, take the first exit onto Staines Road, A315. In 200 yards, turn left onto Hatton Road. Turn left onto Hatton Road. In 300 yards, at the roundabout, continue straight to stay on Hatton Road. In 300 yards, turn right onto New Road. Take the second right onto New Road. In a quarter of a mile, turn left onto Bethany Way. Take the next left onto Bethany Way. Take the next left onto Staines Road, A315. Continue on Staines Road for 3/4 of a mile. In 300 yards, turn right onto Shaftesbury Avenue. Take the next right onto Shaftesbury Avenue, then turn left onto Roslin Avenue. Take the next left onto Roslin Avenue, then you will arrive at your destination. You have arrived.